Good evening, friends, and welcome to another Live Reality Games podcast. My name is Kirk, and I am here to recap two amazing episodes of Surviving Maine, Episode 9 and Episode 10. With me today is the incomparable editor, composer, and everything in between, Taylor. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Kirk. Great to be here again.
And with us today, we have the two voted out contestants from these episodes. So if you haven't seen anything, we're going to spoil everything from these episodes. So go to Surviving Maine on YouTube right now. Watch them.
9 and 10.
9 and 10. Episode 9 is called What Skitter Tries to Do is What Skitter Does. And episode 10, you shot yourself in the foot. And we're going to talk about both of those quotes in just a second. Our first eliminated contestant, and I am sad, it is my supposed twin from the season, the guy I had ranked to win the game. With us is my man, Toby.
Hey, Kirk.
Hey, Toby, welcome.
Oh, no, did Toby freeze?
We got a little freeze going on.
I'm here.
We're back. How you doing, Toby?
Oh no.
Well, he's freezing up, so we're gonna. You guys were with us 2 weeks ago with Carolyn. You know, it happens.
Should be working.
It's intermittent. Yeah,
I hope I'm working.
Yeah, you're here. It's sad to have you here, Toby. We're going to get into your game and how this effectively happened to essentially the whole Skittered tribe, and as well with us. Episode 10, the travesty continues. We lose another original Skittered. The alpha male, as they were saying in the comments, is with us. Welcome, Justin.
Howdy. How you doing?
That's good. It's great to see you.
You too.
Both of you tried to. You made moves consistently in this game. It was really exciting to watch, and I'm thankful for that. They just didn't pan out, I think, the way y'all wanted it to. We're going to get right into episode 9, which is Toby's episode. And this is What Skitter Tries to Do is What Skitter Does, which is a fantastic quote.
You know that's a Tony quote.
Yeah.
You know that's a Tony quote. And am I mistaken? Isn't Tony a Skitter?
No.
No. He started with you guys on Lombard.
He was always on Lombard.
He was always on Lombard. There's so much flip-flopping, I don't even know.
When we went 3 tribes, he was a Lombard at that point. And
With
so I
Toby
guess
and
with me and and Emily. Who else? Sarah, Tony.
So let's get into this a little bit, because I got a question then. Because doesn't Tony say at one point that you're like one of his #1 alliance members?
So that's what I was going with. I came back when we went to the full merge. I came back to Justin, and I think Justin was on board with it, and I was full on sold that we had Tony flipped. And I think Justin was, Becky was, Emily at that point. We were ready to. I think at that point, was it 6-5 or I thought we had the numbers there at that point by 1. So I think right at that last minute, we were scrambling because we caught Emily went over and talked to Tony at that point, and she said she came back in true Emily fashion. She's like, no, we don't have him. So
Yeah, I did not think that we had the numbers. I thought that we for sure didn't, and the only way that I could get any numbers was if I could convince them to give me the immunity idol, and sort of they would be tied to me, and that hopefully that they would believe what I was saying about them voting for me would pretty much connect me to them for the rest of the game. But I don't know. That's all I had to do. I just got back from being with Jess, and she had taken out 2 of my strongest allies. I thought for sure the Reds were going to be looking at me suspiciously, and I just wanted to get some allies, and I had to get the idol back and just survive that round and then reevaluate.
And for us viewers at home, and I think Taylor really pulled a good one over us, is we really, at least some of us, I think, really thought that you and Jess were really going to connect simply because of the Marines background. But tribal lines in Survivor can run so deep. And I think this is what's happening in this particular season.
Yeah, I mean, I love Jess as a person. She's a great player. She's a great competitor. She did exactly what she needed to do to survive in the game. But from, that merge was really hard for me, like mentally. It wasn't something that I was expecting. And when you get blindsided in the game, not once, but twice, and you have to vote out 2 of your tribe members, it really you really hold a grudge and you're really jaded about that. And I just couldn't get past that. And it's a good experience for me to understand what happened there. In hindsight, I should have worked with Jess, but I just couldn't get past it in that short time frame.
Yeah, there's
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say
just on the
Yeah.
just on the Jess point, she really did actually want to work with Justin, and she tried. She kept Justin safe for a few votes there. She kept arguing like, "Oh, we should get out somebody else instead." And Jazzy was very suspicious of Jess. Like, why does she keep trying to save Justin? So she did try for you, Justin. Go ahead.
Well, I know she does. She did.
I was going to say there's so many shoulda, woulda, couldas in this, watching it back. And that's one of them, is knowing how fragile the Lombard tribe was, really, and not taking advantage of that. And I blame that fully on me not being a super fan. I'm there as a fan, watching the show, but just not fully invested in the deceiving of others and tricking others and trying to manipulate others. Justin was very good at that. The mastermind behind our whole scheme. So yeah.
Well,
I thought I was.
Yeah, we could talk about that too, and I think that's somehow what I saw your relationship as is, Justin, you're very strategic in the game. You want to make moves. Even when you're in a position of power, you want to continue moving in the right direction. And Toby, you had this very dominant, it looked like, social game from my perspective. You just were like weaving in and out of conversations with people. So together, you two are kind of deadly.
Yeah. So I mean, like, going into it, that's the gameplay I was going with. I'm pretty sure that I could have won a lot of physical challenges. I know Justin could have too. And I think we had these conversations that we were trying to slow play that aspect of our game. I don't know if that worked, but I was going to really lean heavily on my ability to interact and get along with just about anyone. That's how I live my life too. But I think at that point, you get so far, and you got to start making some moves and going away from that.
Absolutely. Dustin has a question in the chat, and I think this is interesting because there's like Toby just said, there's a lot of coulda, woulda, shouldas in Survivor. And I think sometimes these recaps, that's one of the most interesting things to talk about, are the coulda, woulda, shouldas. And I think this is one of them. There was definitely a decision here. Is it Tony or Sarah? And I don't know. Do you think it's a better decision in a coulda, woulda, shoulda scenario to keep Sarah around instead?
100%. But Tony. So my theory on Tony was I could get Tony to do whatever I told him to, and at that point, Forrest, he was the other one on our side. At that point, Forrest was in the game, and Forrest, God love him, did not have any gameplay whatsoever, other than to try to survive and build things and kill things. But so I at that point thought that Sarah had more of a strategic gameplay. She was going to be in with Jasmine a little bit once we went back to a full merge. And so my thought there was that I could get Tony and Forrest to do whatever I told them to do. But give it up for Tony. He has more game. He had more gameplay than I gave him credit for.
Yeah, I think Tony was super underrated. I would have done the same thing. Like, Sarah seemed really entrenched in that tribe. She's very outgoing. We didn't even know she had this real friendship with Jazzy. Right. Tony seemed like he was on the bottom, but nobody knew he had this secret alliance with Cam, and he was going to stay loyal to that till the end. Yep. And that's what ended up doing you guys in.
That's a really interesting point, Taylor. I had forgotten what we had learned about that Sarah had this prior relationship with Jazzy, which you guys can't know about.
Right.
Fair enough. But if Sarah is still around, and that gives them the option to work together later on, and maybe they say, well, Toby saved me. Let's keep Toby around longer. Yeah. So, wow, that does have a lot of ripples.
Yeah, no, that's definitely one of the big shoulda, woulda, couldas going through my head. As soon as I got voted out, it was because ultimately that decision is probably what led to that. So
another coulda, woulda, shoulda is the idol play, and I kind of want to, before we get to the idol play, I finally have you two here, and I've kind of talked crap about this strategy from the start of the season, but I want you guys to defend it. I want you to defend the team idol strategy. That was, let me reiterate to everybody at home who hasn't watched it, was found by Michael Canfield, the clue. Then it was found by Jasmine, am I correct? Not Jazzy, Jasmine, the cigarette smoker who quit. Let's be clear. Then that idol was turned into, was it Toby or just you, Justin?
Me.
Justin, and then it somehow becomes the team idol. Please explain. I need to learn from you guys right now.
So pretty much Jasmine ended up, well, Michael found the clue, and then Jasmine ended up finding it at the immunity challenge. And for some reason, she felt like she wanted to give it to me. I had only been there for a few hours, and the last thing I wanted was an immunity idol that the entire place knew that I had. Already a physical threat. They all knew I was in the military. Somehow somebody found that out. Facebook creeping or something. But anyway, I had a target on my back, so I felt the only thing that I can do here is create a bond of trust and a noble lie that we're all going to use this for ourselves. I had the intention of using it for me, Toby, or Katie, who was my main alliance in the beginning. But I wanted everyone to believe that they were a part of this and that they were going to be benefited by having this idol. So it took the target off my back, and it also built trust with my tribe. And with this certain group of people, I knew that nobody was going to get shady with it. And the people that were going to get shady with it, I wanted to vote out. And those were going to be Michael Canfield, and then me and Toby were trying to vote out either Becky or Emily. Eventually, we had talked about that in earlier episodes, because a lot of people, they see that and call me an alpha male, but they don't understand that you have to play the game differently as an alpha male. You have to take out people earlier than you would necessarily if you were somebody that plays under the radar. So a lot of the moves where I'm plotting against my own tribe members, I'm thinking way down the road. I know who has a target on me. I know that Becky and Emily, Michael Canfield, these people have a target on me. So eventually. So I was sort of just trying to plan ahead, and that's sort of how my idol strategy played in. Was I wanted to make sure that certain people didn't get their hands on it or get suspicious, and vote them out one vote before they would grab it.
So this validates a lot of what I was talking crap about earlier on in the season. And this is interesting, folks. It's very meta. It's like layers. So let's figure out who's going to be the scariest dealing with idols by simply putting the idol out in front of them. It's like putting candy out in front of a kid and saying, "Don't touch that. That's going to give you cavities," and just see what happens. Did you ever see anybody ever acting weird?
When you're playing the game, you know who's going to go for that idol eventually and who's not. We didn't see anybody go for it, but we know who, when you're on the chopping block and when it's time to grab that idol is just hanging off of the shelter. So
Michael
we didn't see anybody there.
Well, and so
exactly.
I can't remember, Justin. Do you remember who had that idol? I think it was in my bag when we split into 3 tribes. Is that correct?
It was correct. In Toby's bag.
Yeah. And then you weaseled it back from me, you little bugger. That's another shoulda, woulda, coulda. Should have held on to that thing.
That idol was mine the second I set it on the shelter. I was going to use it at some point.
Yeah.
I love it. That's interesting, because that idol play was obviously a misread, and I give credit to the other side.
Yeah,
they did a good job with that. Kudos. It sucks when it happens to you, but you know what? It was a good play. But that said, it's interesting to note, Justin, because at the end of this episode, we find out that another Jasmine was interested to give you an idol. So what is it about Jasmine's wanting to give you idols, Justin?
I don't know. Maybe it's my bald head. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm not buying that Jazzy would have gave it to me. She might have, after I had called her out, she might have said, "Oh, I would give it to you," but I don't think she would.
She was going to play it on you. It was absolutely her plan, 100%. She wanted you to vote for Jess. She was going to play the idol on you. All the votes would have been on you. You and Becky were supposed to be voting for Jess. There would essentially just be one vote because it would just be Jess going. Yeah. She wanted Jess out from the beginning. She wanted to shake things up. And when you called out, I'm voting for Jazzy instead, you totally blew it. She was not lying at all.
Yeah, I felt more comfortable making Jasmine look like a snitch than taking her word for it.
And again, this is a clear example of Justin, you making moves in the game and not just willing to sit back like a wet noodle, just sit back, a fly on the wall and let this game happen. And that's exciting to watch, even when they don't pan out. Unfortunately for you, it's good television. Like CBS casting, if you're going to look at somebody, look at Justin, because that's somebody who's going to go out there and make a move every single day. That's what you want to see. Let's talk a little bit about episode 9, guys. The challenge these players had to face was the challenge called Touchy Subjects. There's a colloquialism. Some people call it majority rules. This is where the contestants answer questions about some very touchy subjects, hence the name. And then the majority answer is the correct answer that you want to answer at the challenge, whereas then you usually get to either win a point or you get to knock people out of the challenge. This is one of the knockout challenges. And it was interesting to see that you guys were using clay pigeons to bust up instead of the traditional tiles, which I think really fits the main theme. Here's a breakdown of who got what. And pretty much it's all Jazzy, folks. So you get the most annoying, Jazzy. Going to win, Jazzy. The oldest was Toby, which I didn't even know
I didn't even vote. I didn't even realize it. I thought Becca was.
Yeah, and I thought that was a weird question, to be honest, because it's not as much of an opinion. I mean, it's yeah. I guess it could be an opinion who you think is the oldest, but Toby got that one. This was interesting. Who's in the alliance with the most people? The annoying person, Jazzy, was voted, even though you're annoying, you're in everybody's alliance. That doesn't seem to go together. Who was in their main alliance? This was a tie between Cameron and Brandon. Red flag.
Red flags. Yes.
Everybody in the game, red flag. Who talks and gossips the most? Or I forget what the actual phrase was, but that was Jazzy. And then who was worst at the challenges? I think that was Jazzy again, right? Was there any, Taylor, were there any that fell on the editing room floor that were cut?
There were a lot.
Okay.
There was one or two that I didn't put in the episode, and then there were a few more that Liza didn't even read at all.
Okay.
Jazzy got 1 or 2 votes for most annoying. Forrest got all the rest. Let's not mess around here.
Oh, okay,
Forrest got all
those got
those
thrown
votes.
out. Yeah.
Oh, so this was done prior when Forrest was in the game still. Makes sense now.
Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely. So so I guess that should make Jazzy feel a little bit better that all of those votes were thrown out. Also, that you can kind of hide behind that as a player. Oh, I voted for Forrest.
Yeah. Did either of you actually vote for her for most annoying?
I think that I did, but the only reason that I did was because that tribe, they were on lock with what was going on in there. The only one that was outspoken was Jazzy. She was the only one that was saying anything, and the only one that had any sort of personality to me. The rest of them were good poker players, and they just wouldn't give you anything.
Well, and at that point, the only Skitter people that we could have voted for most annoying, I wasn't going to, because I thought we could still try to pull something together. So it had to be someone from Lombard, and she, like Justin said, she was the most outgoing, most boisterous, seemed to be scheming the most with everyone, and that's why I voted for her. I like her.
Yeah.
You like her. Jazzy took a lot of offense to some of the things she was voted as, and That's not good, but she feels like you guys really hated her. But I don't
No.
think that's true. I think you guys just thought she deserved to win and you wanted to get
Yeah.
rid of her because of that.
Absolutely. I thought she was a strong competitor, and looking back on it, I wish Justin and I had probably tried to go to her sooner and grab her, because I think she would have. She was one of those cracks. 100%.
Absolutely.
I think that's kind of where we're going to go with episode 10. We've already talked a little bit about this. Dustin asked another question that I'd like to touch base with both of you on. Toby, you talked about being a fan of Survivor, but not a super fan. What's your background with Survivor, and how did you get cast in this game?
Yeah. So I remember watching episode 1. You can date me back to whenever that was, or season 1. Sorry, not episode 1. And then just life scenarios. I was on and off in all the seasons. I never studied any of the seasons. So like we had I can't remember one of the competitions, but one of them came down to knowing history of the game. And I called myself out right from the get-go. But, I know the game. I know how it works. I know strategy. I know merges happen. I know about when they happen. So I don't know. I'm somewhere in the middle, not the fanatic, but the fan. Yep. And what was the second part there? Oh, how did I get cast?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was the last minute on a whim. I was at school, Kirk, and it was my lunch break, and the applications were due like in an hour, and people had been sending it into my Facebook. They'd seen it on Facebook. Toby, you'd be great at this. Toby, you should do this. You should try out for this. And it was my second take of a video during my lunch break, and I did it in my classroom, and bam, there I am.
Voila! How
Yep.
cool!
Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
Justin, same questions for you. What level of a fan are you, and how did you get involved and cast in this production?
Before I got cast, I had seen the older seasons of Survivor, even like the first season, like when I was a kid, I had watched that. But as far as becoming like a super fan into modernity and the episodes that are happening now, I wasn't up to date, but I did get up to date before I played. I got cast. I saw it on Facebook somewhere, and I just kind of followed the link and filled out the application. And I was surprised when I had gotten picked. A funny thing about my casting, when I got to the game, they had a board that had a picture of all the contestants on like this wall, and they would X them out as they got eliminated. And the picture for me wasn't even me. It was some like weird guy with a ventriloquist dummy, and it said Justin under it.
I'm going to post that on Twitter. That was so confusing for me. I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
That's not him. I'm going to post that picture. It's hilarious.
Wait, so who was this guy?
I'm wondering if maybe I wasn't even supposed to get casted, and it was supposed to be this ventriloquist guy. I don't know.
This guy and his puppet, he has 2 votes at every tribal council.
Karen.
I love
Karen.
Yeah. I hope the puppet's name was Karen. That's fantastic. Yeah, Jazzy was not happy with those reactions at the end of that challenge. It was clearly, but it's called touchy subjects for a reason. That's why they put it into Survivor. It's funny. It's funny. This is the duplicitous side of Survivor. We talk about we want players to be strategic. We don't want the game to get personal, and yet we love these challenges that get a little personal. We like to see the players' reactions, and sometimes that's the only way for a minority to bust into the majority in Survivor, is for a player to get emotional. So you guys were on the right path. A lot of stuff comes out here. We hear that players are considering a 3-3 tie, a 3-3-3 tie. There's final 9. Cameron, I think, is the one who mentions this, or Brandon mentions it. This alliance of 6 is talking, and we see you two talking with Becky and you guys decide to pull off a move at Tribal Council. And the move is basically to say you have a few jury votes if you vote with us. How did you guys come up with this move? Do you feel like now, after you've watched the episode, there was something different you should have tried?
Desperation.
Yeah.
Desperation, just, anything that we could do. We knew that Jazzy had an idol, so we thought maybe at least get him to put the votes and flush it, or something like along those lines. I don't know, Toby. That's what I remember, is just a desperate attempt to get somebody to flip.
I thought it was a great great idea. I wasn't, I was there and I wasn't filming at that time, so I was just watching the tribal council as it unfolded, and you guys brought that up, and I was like sitting there like, oh my gosh, they're gonna shake things up. It was so exciting. I think it could have worked, but I don't know. You would have had to put the target somewhere else. Like if you had tried to get, okay, here's what I was talking to Becky about this, because there's this scene where the three of you were talking about this plan, and then toward the end, but Toby, we can hear you. Okay, toward the end, Becky says to you, "Are you gonna talk to anyone about this?" And she looks very like critical of this plan unless you're going to talk to people about it, and you say no. And that was when it clicked for her. She told me that she was not going to stand up with you guys and say that she was going to give her jury vote to whoever flipped, because she thought the best plan would be to go to someone beforehand and try to get 2 votes that way. And I think that she made the right move, obviously, but what do you guys think? If you had gone to, like, say, Jazzy or Rebecca, I think you could have got them to flip with you and then done this plan. I don't know.
Yeah, it was really difficult because, I mean, this night that you're watching where I get eliminated is the same day that John got eliminated.
Right.
I mean,
wow.
that's a long time ago, and a lot has happened in such a quick time. And there's to break down those tribal lines in that period of time is so hard. Becky's right though. Becky did exactly what she needed to do to get as far in the game as she gets, and she kept the idol secret from us, the idol that she had, which was a smart move to do. There was nothing for us. We were drawing dead. There was not really much we could do, especially in such a limited time.
Yeah, she's definitely in self-preservation mode, and that can be really good in Survivor. I mean, she's going to be coming into it's the final 7?
Yeah, 7 now.
Okay, and the only person is she
She's
completely alone now.
She's it.
Yep.
She's it. She's the only original Skidder, right?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, but in some ways, this is the same position that Jess got herself in when she was in the swap tribe, where she could maybe single-handedly be that 1 vote, albeit Jess was in an easier situation because there was less numbers and no opportunity for you guys to split the vote, really. So, whereas Becky's not in that situation, there's still potential numbers that they could split, but if they split, they're going to have to split it on one of their own at this point, which that is going to be interesting to see if what you guys were saying, and you were trying to give them information. Like, I forget who you said exactly. I think you at one point told Tony that he was on the bottom. I think that's probably, I think there's 2 that might be accurate, but I'm not entirely sure at this point. I think people might drag him to the end. I can't tell right now. He seems almost enticing to take to the end in a sense that he might be very beatable. Do you see that as well?
Yeah. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah.
Now that I'm back. Yeah. No, that's like, and back to the Sarah when we were at the 3 tribe split, that I wanted to be able to bring. At that point, I wanted to be able to bring Tony back, put him with Justin, and have a final 3 lock, and then hope that I could pull something together to some type of gameplay to be able to beat Justin in the end. And really, my gameplay was going to be that I single-handedly created the Lombard Skidder flop, so that everyone was on their own at that point. And that's what I was going to lean on heavily. I slept at night thinking about that speech.
I love hearing that. So, Justin, what was your final game plan? Who would you have wanted to? Who were you trying to sit next to, and how are you going to beat them?
I believe that winning Survivor comes down to being real and winning the game with your true personality and your true strengths and attributes. I would have brought Toby and Katie. I wasn't looking for a goat.
Yeah.
And I would have sold that I'm the first person in Survivor history to have a tribe idol until the merge. That would have been one of my big moves. I feel like had Jess not taken out 2 of my allies, then we would have probably just done what the Lombard done and sort of ran the rest of the game, and I could have sold that I was in charge of that process.
Jess, she killed our tribe, and I at that point, Katie was already gone, so that's why I wanted to grab Tony and have that final 3 at that point. But I was really sold on you, me, and Katie at that point. Yeah. And I think she was too.
Come on,
she totally was. Yeah.
Can you even read this? Tony, Katie, okay, minus Jasmine, no cigarettes. Justin, right there. Look at Forrest is right behind there. I had your tribe pegged. I feel like
you really did, Kirk.
I feel like I knew I could feel the vibes through your editing, Taylor. It's the only time I've ever been right. But then
it was the cast assessment. You called that, and I was like trying to keep a straight face, like, oh, really? You think they might be an alliance? Okay.
Still no idea how that's kind of cool. I feel good about that. Finally got something right. So this tribal is crazy. It's a really exciting one. It comes down, Justin, you both are making moves. You both basically say, you have my jury vote if you vote with me. It's a very enticing offer. Tony is enticed by it. We see the expression on his face. It's just not enough. And I think Taylor might be right and Becky might have been right, that it was a good move to make for the people not in the plan, but maybe you had to approach one of them, at least one of them, before tribal. But who knows? The same thing could have happened. The vote plays out, guys, and it is close. This is one of those votes that they talk about on Rob Has a Podcast, Parodium, all those shows. It is a 4-3-2 vote split. In other words, a minority number of votes take it out. Now, it was intentionally a 3-3-3 vote, and we know it was that because Brandon walks in and does the traditional majority alliance. Who am I voting for? We know it's going to be a split vote when somebody in majority in a dominant position says, who am I voting for? And we have Becky flopping her vote so that it's not on a 3-3-3. So I am going to give the most valuable player award of that episode to Becky for saving her own ass and getting further into the game. But I think there was a close second, and I'm trying to find who I wrote down for that second. I can't see it. It's also Rebecca. Because Rebecca claims at the start of episode 10, she starts to take credit for getting you out, Toby, specifically. And I'm curious about this because we haven't seen this side of Rebecca coming out where she's like taking pride in the moves she's making. We really haven't seen any moves that she's made. Did you feel any of that? Like Rebecca was the one coming after you?
Never.
Okay.
Nope, never. And actually, I thought Justin was going out that tribal instead of me. I don't know if it was my birthday and they wanted. Actually, you know what? It was. I remember Cameron after the fact when I had a chance to talk to him. So my family was there that day watching. And I had my 2 little kids running around. They brought me.
You could see his hot wife in the background.
Yeah, I'm watching all of them, right? Yeah, and they brought me balloons, and like I wasn't really able to talk to them much, but like I could see them, and I think Cameron honestly felt bad for me that I was going to have to stay another night and then get voted out the next morning. And I do think that's why I went over Justin. I think they wanted to probably get Justin out earlier.
Wow.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They were also worried Justin had an idol. But I think Becca's move was telling Becky that they were voting Toby because she didn't even vote. She voted for Becky in the 3-3 split. So her move was telling Becky so that they didn't have to deal with the revote.
That's correct. Now I'm remembering that.
And try to form an alliance with Becky.
Absolutely. We see her reaching out, and that's I wrote the note down wrong, and I remember exactly what you're saying now. So we see these 2 talk. So we're seeing maybe a potential starting of something working together, which could be interesting and clearly Becky's going to need anything at this point that she can latch onto because that idol's not going to last very long. So we're into. Toby gets voted out at 4. It's a member of our jury now, so at least we get to see you in all our episodes coming up, and you're going to get to make your case on who should win at the very end. And even Toby mentions a question I always have when I'm watching these: is it a final 2? Is it a final 3? What's the end of this game look like? And we still don't know. The players do not know what the end of this game is. Kudos to production for continuing that up. It's hard to do. And this is really our second person voted out on their birthday. What is it? What an evil cast.
Yeah. I did had a couple beer on my birthday, though. I do remember that.
My favorite parts of this episode is when you guys have gotten beer. It's the best part.
Yeah. Sarah and I definitely had conversations around the campfire about our beer.
I bet. I still want to have a drink with Sarah one of these days, for sure. So this episode 10 is You Shot Yourself in the Foot. It's another well-edited episode, Taylor. It's concise. We get everything we need. We get the meat and the taters, but we don't have to deal with a ton of salad on the side. We get right to what it's about. And it's becoming the last night of, and I love nighttime challenges, nighttime tribals. Things change. People get tired. People get ornery, and people are getting pissed. These challenges are pissing people off. From Jazzy last episode to I don't know what's going on with Cameron at the end of this episode, but
he's so aggro. He's like, we need to go to bed. Let's just vote.
He's like, he doesn't want to talk to anybody. No. And I'm like, dude, like don't have them give a reason to vote for you at this point. Let's see, the notes I have, some interesting things. Brandon talks about you two at one point at Tribal passing a flint off to each other to make it look like an idol. What is this, Justin?
I don't know. We were doing anything and everything that we could. My goal was to just stir the pot and hopefully something crazy would happen that wasn't just the bang, 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 expected outcome.
Yeah, and I was going at that point. We were so low in numbers. Justin was the brains behind all of this, and I was going along with whatever scheme he wanted to throw out there, hoping that maybe that's going to put a target on him, and he's going to get out of there slightly before me, giving me. So Justin said it earlier when I was cutting in and out there, but the timing of all of these tribals, and I don't know if you noticed, but the last 3 or 4 tribals, Liza has said every single time, there's no talking or we're going straight to tribal. Like, that time that we're losing there, especially when we're down numbers, was, I mean, you might as well forget trying to strategize with anyone or trying to flip anyone on the other tribe.
Yeah, I hated that, honestly. For this one, it was fun because you could step down from the challenge. Right. But in episode 8, when Forrest goes, that was just so.
Yeah, I mean, that was
didn't like that at all.
That was a big deal, and that was a chance for to. And there's not much time thrown into these challenge or these mini events anyway. I mean, you're talking an hour here and there, but I don't know, just not having any chance to try to stir the pot or mingle with the other tribe was tricky.
So yeah, definitely getting even in these really quick challenges, really quick tribals, still trying to give players some time to talk is going to help the minority try to make a move, is what I'm gathering from this, and that's clearly true. We saw it was hard for you guys to make a move at tribal, so having that time is important. Something's really interesting. Jazzy still has that damn idol. Yeah. She has not played it yet. I swear everybody in the game has to know she has it, right? Like every single freaking person.
Everyone knows.
She's most likely to win. Hands. She's most annoying. Jazzy, I adore you. I love watching you. But this is a litany of reasons to vote you out, and nobody's doing it. So I don't know what you're doing. Kudos to you. You still got the idol. And you almost flipped Tony. Tony has a confessional. He says, it wasn't a good time for me to flip, not the opportunity. So you were almost there. I found that really interesting. And another takeaway is there was a lot of confusion. Justin, you wanted them to be confused. You wanted something crazy to happen. And it wasn't your doing. It was clearly Becky's doing. But it did cause a little bit of chaos. And I thought it was interesting that Brandon and Cam are more concerned right now about idols on their side than you guys really having idols. I mean, of course, voting Toby out was partially about that, but I mean, there is an idol out there, and I'm wondering if they're actually thinking that Becky could even have one.
I don't think they knew. I don't think that they knew. We didn't know either. I mean, I don't think anybody.
I don't think anyone knew.
I don't even think. Yeah,
Taylor probably knows, but I don't. Yeah,
I didn't even know.
Yeah.
That was the best thing. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
When she played it, I was like, "Oh my god!"
So
spoiler.
So hopefully that will happen. Now, this is a nighttime challenge, and one thing that we've started to learn from watching these is that productions love to do endurance challenges as one of the last challenges in the evening because it gives them the amount of time that they need to put it on. So for all of you players that come out to these multi-day Survivor games, don't be prepared to sleep. Be prepared to play in a challenge late at night. So if they're giving you tons of beer at the end of the night, probably try not to imbibe as much as you normally would because it might cost you the challenge. So what did Dustin just put? He said, stated before, Toby's hot wife. You're talking about like a blood versus water challenge, Dustin? Are you wanting to see Toby play with his wife? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think that's gonna happen. She wouldn't survive out there.
Yeah. So this endurance challenge is new to me. Dustin said he'd seen something like this once before. And Dustin, please chime in the chat if you could let us know what that was. But this is an endurance challenge. And it is just simply stand on a balance beam. This is a Maine balance beam, which is impossible to stand on, which is like a log that's this big. So for guys with big feet, it's, I don't know how you could even try it. But the twist is there is no talking. And I thought the challenge at first was going to be just don't talk. The last person who's not talking gets immunity. Essentially, the person who wins immunity is still on the balance beam and they have not talked. Now, the players have the option to leave the balance beam and say, I'm forfeiting the challenge. And then they're allowed to talk off of the balance beam and strategize about the upcoming impending tribal council that's going to happen right after the challenge. Or if they fall off without saying that, they have to sit in the corner and not talk like it's elementary school. Toby, do you teach elementary?
No, high school.
Okay, all right.
But my wife's kindergarten teacher. So.
Okay, so if Cameron was in that class, he was sitting in the corner thinking about his actions that he had done earlier that day, and he was not happy about his actions.
It was really, really fun to be on the jury at that point and watch that whole thing break down. That was fun.
It was great. I love Liza's voices off, like an order, like shut up, players. That was great. And like we predicted this at home, we thought a bunch of people are going to jump right off the bat, and we have a ton of players jump. It turns into a battle between Becca, Becky, and Jess, if I'm correct. And I gotta say, I was as much as Becky was in the hardest position I think in the game besides Justin at that point. I really was rooting for Becca. I wanted her to pull that win out so bad, seeing her balance. We could watch you almost fall off, Becca, and then you got back up. Man, I was really rooting for you. So Dustin says this challenge was similar in Sequester, where blindfolded players had to remove blindfolds the closest to 30 minutes. The person who removed it at that point would be immune. Everybody else would be potentially eliminated. So similar. The physical part of the challenge wasn't involved. And I think that's a nice twist to throw into this. So Justin, when you saw that challenge, what did you think?
We had an earlier challenge where there was some balance beams and I did not do very well on it. And I had these big LL Bean hiking boots. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to win this immunity challenge. My best hope is to first step off, make it look like I want to make a deal with somebody. And then also by stepping down immediately, maybe make them think I have an immunity idol and vote for Becky. But Becky obviously ended up winning. So I was glad with that as well, because I was skittered to the end, whether it was me, Toby, Becky, I didn't care at that point. But yeah, I was talking the second I heard that you could step off and talk.
Was you guys were kind of lumped together? Was there a lot of strategy talk, or was people trying to really block that conversation from happening?
I was thinking that we were going to be able to kind of like maybe have private conversations and maybe go like off to the side a little bit. But Becky said we weren't allowed to leave the tribal council area. The person I wanted to talk to was Jasmine. You can kind of see me talking through there for a second. But the second I stepped up, all the piranhas just came right over beside us, and I couldn't talk to them at all, and nothing got done there. So I wish I would have stayed on and tried to at least win immunity.
Absolutely, that makes sense. So at the end of this challenge, we have Becky winning immunity. It's a close one, and she's got to feel so good to have that immunity. She's already talked about the pecking order. She assumes she's going to be the last one receiving votes. Now she's safe, and she's going to be safe into the next round because of the idol. However, I want to put one critique out there. This is also an opportunity where she knows who's going to get the other votes, and she potentially could save that person. Now, the question is, does this help her get past the next round? And I can't answer that question. But should she have, without spoiling anything coming up for me and the viewers at home, and now this might be impossible, should she have used the idol on you, Justin?
That's not you think for a second, Justin. That's not a bad. I hadn't even thought about that, because this tribal happened. Everyone knew that this was going to be the last tribal of the night, and that you're going back to a camp. That could have been a possibility to build trust in Justin. There's two, and Justin's already created the fractures in the Lombard tribe. That night could have been a very interesting night in terms of conversations being had, and the time to be had. I hadn't thought about that one, Kirk. It's a good one.
Toby brings up another point right before we get to this, Justin, that I just want to bring up that players have strategized about in these LRGs. Rob from Rob as a Podcast talks a lot about, should you make a move on an odd number or an even number in games of Survivor, like how many players are in the game. It's very worthy to listen to his strategy. He has had a lot of good gameplay. And Toby, I think you're talking about something that affects us, especially because we deal with these longer nights only intermittently, maybe 2, 3, 4 times in the game. And those are the opportunities to make really big moves. So I think the tribal right before, Toby's getting to something that might be an overall strategy to take away, is that make your big move at night at that last tribal, if possible. Oh, wow. So, okay, Becky was with us with me in the thought. I can't wait to talk to you down the line about that. Justin, what were you going to say? You had a comment.
I was going to sort of talk about the night as well. I think we were under the impression that the tribal council that Toby had gotten voted out, that was going to be the last one. And then we were going to have, continue the game in the morning. But we ended up doing an accelerated challenge there right after, and then they voted me out. I think that if we would have had the night, I think that something different may have happened. I can't say for sure, but I feel like I have the ability to sort of stir enough pot stirring, and there's idols and there's a lot of stuff there. I think that something could have gotten done.
Yeah, you think you can? Yes, Justin, you absolutely could have stirred the pot in one evening.
Let's play this out. Let's play this out.
You wouldn't have slept.
Becky plays her idol on Justin. They're safe. Jazzy, what does she do? Immediately plays her idol on herself. You flushed another idol. What does Jess do? She heard Justin say, Jazzy wants Jess out. Jess plays her idol. All the idols are out of the game. They're back out there. Maybe they hide one at the new tribe merge camp. They're all gone if Becky does that. I 100% think maybe Jess doesn't play hers, but I think she does. I think she does.
If that did play out that way, and then now you having to vote out people that are all in key alliances, it's going to be either Rebecca, Brandon, Tony, or Cameron. And someone's going to get mad about something there because they're all got these intertwining alliances.
Damn it, Becky. Why didn't you just do that?
Becky,
She saved herself.
you saved it. You would have forced it. Yes, and it's hard to blame somebody in Survivor for saving themselves, but at the same time, this would have been really interesting to watch because it would have gone to a revote. Wow, that would have been cool. All right. So another takeaway: if you have a potential alliance member and you have an idol and you win immunity, Becky, you have a choice to make, and do what you think is going to be in your best interest. So let's get to Tribal and let's get to Justin, or should I say Wayne Brady. It's time to make a deal. One of my favorite lines. I think that could have potentially been a quote for the episode. And the after you start offering deals, the response you get from Tony, a little harsh because you've done it before. And I thought that was really appropriate.
Yeah, I just want to say something. I love Tony. I was when I had called him out at the last Tribal, I said something about him going home next time. I was trying to exude confidence and perhaps, not appear in a weak state, and that was all that was about. I have no issues with Tony. Like he got me with the audio. I was like, Tony beat me, so I have no issues with Tony at all. I was just messing with him and trying to exude confidence and arrogance and maybe get people to worry a little bit.
Becky said something that I thought was really interesting, Taylor, and I don't know if you caught this, but she talked about being able to try and guess the pecking order. And she's referring to Toby, Justin, and herself, like the pecking order that they're in. Does this at all give away that she may or may not have an advantage? Because why is she so? I'm trying to figure out if people might read into that word, into that phrase, guess the pecking order. Or maybe it just flew over everybody's head. But I thought, why does she need to know the pecking order so bad? Probably to protect something. No?
She wasn't interested in keeping me, I don't think, along. She even talks about it earlier in the game that she wants to get Justin out. So, I mean, she's trying to just look like she's loyal to Blue and hope that she can eventually flip somebody at the right time. That's my opinion of it.
Okay, that absolutely makes sense. A couple other takeaways that I have from this. Liza loves whispering. She's known for her whispering tribal council at Survival Challenge. And the funniest thing is watching players, because players created this, right? It's okay to whisper at tribal council. It kind of irritates some hosts. Some hosts accept it. Liza loves whispering. And it's interesting because Jazzy's like asking for permission. This is the first time I think I've seen this. Like, may we get up and go to the bathroom now? Like, it's like in class. Like, can we go and talk, please? And Liza's like, hell yeah. And then it gets a little crazy. Now, Justin, when that's going down, what moves do you feel like you can make at that point?
I'm sort of sitting back and seeing what they're doing, what's going on, who's talking to who. And the clear discomfort was with Jazzy. And I was like, I can make her maybe look like a snitch or a flipper or something. And she has an idol. So why not just say I'm going to vote for her? And she was the only one that gave me anything. Like I said earlier, they were all really good poker players. I had no idea who was aligned with who. I had no idea, other than Jazzy, that she's the only one that really was voicing any concerns.
And this is the irony. She's the one with the idol who might protect you. She's also the one who's clearly, I'm okay with being shady in front of everybody and just getting up and whispering into ears. She's also been voted most likely to win, also been voted most annoying. I mean, she's in such a weird place. It's almost hard to read. Can she win the game? If she's most annoying, can she get the votes? But she's making the moves at tribal councils that are the moves you need to do to win the game. So if she's sitting there, she's the one who can own that. Brandon can't own that. Cameron can't own that. So I don't know. And the one thing I'll say, Brandon, came across, I think he even said he wasn't concerned. Cameron, was tired. He was, I don't know if he's just hungry or whatever, but he's irritated. I mean, we all saw it in your face. And Cameron, I adore you. We all get like that when we play these games, but you were. And I wonder if the jury is going to react to that if you can't, because you got to flip it off at some point in Survivor, especially if you get to the end. And I'm hoping he's able to kind of be able to put his emotions on the back burner. We haven't seen him explode, but we've also only seen Cameron in a place of power. We've never seen him out of power. And so is he going to be, if Cameron's out of power, does he thrash around? Is he a fish out of water? Or is he calm, steady, cool? And does he collect information? This is what I think might be Cameron's Achilles heel when it comes to maybe actually pulling off the win in this season. And that's off one little moment I've seen from him. Everything else has been really positive. The vote comes down to a unanimous vote against Justin with one vote to Jazzy. I feel like, Justin, you can't take the unanimous vote personal, because I feel like this is a group of 6 people that are trying to hide their true alliance with what they're going to do next round. I feel like next round's going to be a blindside, potentially.
Yeah, I don't take anything personal at all. I was expecting to be out at any point from when Katie got blindsided to when I was voted out. So I didn't take anything personally at all.
Well, and Cam said it, let's just go to bed. And I think that's what every single Lombard tribe member and Becky was thinking, let's go to bed, regroup in the morning. And I mean, because then you're pushing Sunday, the end of the game's that day, and you can kind of push through to the end. So, yeah.
I wonder if the 3 Lombards that had that powwow the first night are going to have a powwow this night as well, because they're all still in the game. Brandon, Jazzy, and Cameron.
They might be too exhausted now with all the lack of sleep.
That's true. That's true. I hope Becky stays up late and makes some moves. Toby, I'm curious, what were some of your favorite takeaways from this entire experience?
I loved it. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I've talked about doing it again. I've seen, so now I belong to all these groups, and I'm part of all these podcasts, and I'm seeing all these posts, and I absolutely love it. I'd do it in a heartbeat. I love the social aspect of it. Now playing it once, I realize it's way more than the social aspect of it, and there's so much strategy involved. Yeah. I don't want to be the old guy that's playing this game until I'm late, but I still got a lot to offer, and I'd do it in a heartbeat. Yep.
Hey, Toby, I feel you in that sense of being the old guy playing, because that's usually me. So yeah, any host out there that wants to cast the 30 and above version of Survivor, I'm totally applying.
Let's do it.
Just putting it
I
out
play
there.
that too. Get me in that one.
So, okay, you got a bunch of us here who will apply. You 20-somethings out there, you're just big threats. You're hard for us. So we have to play a game with us old folks in canes and bifocals and things like that. That's my luxury item, are my bifocals. Justin, what is some of your takeaways from this whole experience?
One of the takeaways is I grew up in the 90s when we didn't have electronics, and going outside was what you did. So it had been a while since I had gone camping or gone outside or done anything. I mean, I had my military stuff, but it had even been a few years since I had done that. And to do it with, people from different backgrounds and different, sort of very intelligent people and quality people that were playing this game. And that was one of the takeaways, was the bonds and relationships that I made in this game. Talking about playing Survivor in the future, I am actually casted for another season of Survivor, but I will not discuss what season that is. I'm so excited about that. So you'll see me again, possibly. But yeah, Taylor did a great job. It was above and beyond my expectations. Liza did a great job. Her family did a great job. The property, the scenery, everything about it was just a genuine experience and worth the time. And I recommend it to anybody.
I want to chime in too, and the relationships I built with these people. Facebook Messenger blows up more often with this group of people than any of my people. And Taylor, excellent job. Liza, phenomenal. And when people ask me about it, people are watching some of these episodes. They're like, "So what was it like?" I'm like, phenomenal. For Surviving Maine, if you want to compare it to the real Survivor on CBS, it's pretty darn close. The challenges were legit. They were not carnival games. The site was phenomenal. The production is great. It was top notch.
Hey, if you guys play again, remember to keep in mind, use this to your advantage. Once you get the merge, you're not a threat. Play that up. you guys are not threats. It's not the strong athletic people that do well in individual competitions. Make sure you bring that up as often as you can, because it's true. Like the little people who can do endurance or balance things with one hand, they're the ones that are going to be winning.
Yeah.
Puzzles, you know.
Yep.
Talk about it.
Taylor, it's very true. Like the challenges change so drastically from the type of strength and like things that body mass might help with is almost always in that first part of Survivor, in the team parts of the games. But when they turn into the individual, we don't see as much of that like body mass assisting people as much. Usually it's the opposite. Like having smaller feet might benefit you more here.
Oh, my wife gives me a hard time for that balancing with the feet. Oh, shouldn't she give me a hard time for that one?
That's great. Our spouses are there for us for that reason to give us crap during our performances and challenges that we didn't like. This has been a blast with you guys, and I think Toby really summed it up, guys. If you want to play Surviving Maine, there's information out there. You can hit up the hosts.
Do it.
We'll have information posted once we have more. And it's legit. This is the pinnacle of LRG Survivors. What you're seeing is some of the best episodes that we can watch out there. You're seeing some of the best experiences. So please, people, get out there and support Surviving Maine. We are huge fans of you guys, and we just love everything that you guys are doing for the community. Toby, Justin, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Kirk.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for everything.
Absolutely. And if there's anything, I sometimes will do a post-show recap after everything's said and done. So if there's anything you did not say and you want to come back on, feel free to hit me up. Everybody, I will see you next week. We'll have episode 11 to cover. Bye, guys.